All right, welcome to an episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey, and today's episode is going to be very unique. And this is our traditional episode every Friday, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. If you haven't already done so, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment below with what you learn, as that is our intention. We have the one and only Mr. Dan Gandy, our co-host. What's up, Dan? How's your day going, sir?
It's sunny in Oregon in the spring, so I am I'm extremely blessed to be alive and actually not be wearing a raincoat. So I'm happy.
Dude, good for you, because in Arizona, believe it or not, we're wearing raincoats. All right, we'll be right back with you to kick off our show. Welcome to a new episode of Real Estate vs. Technology, your number one resource to get the inside scoop from top performing real estate professionals. How are they growing their business utilizing technology in today's market? Hear also from top performing coaches that can help and serve you in your real estate business, and also technology providers. Let's go deeper with these technology providers to ask them how they got where they're at today and how maybe their services could better serve your real estate business. A big shout out to Liftoff Agent for sponsoring our podcast. Go ahead and go to liftoffagent.com to learn about their marketing and positioning services to help scale your real estate business. If you haven't already done so, like the episode, subscribe. We want you to comment on YouTube what you learned from the episode and give us a review if you're going to be listening and streaming this podcast. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and enjoy this week's podcast of Real Estate vs. Technology. All right, so this is going to be a free flow, Dan. Let's see how this works out, as you're going to hear the intro from the other side of the podcast, from the man, the myth, the legend. We have Travis Farris on the show, founder of Travis Team, been in the business 10 plus years, also has a Collab Agents podcast. And so we're super excited to have you on the show and free flow and just see how this goes, man. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Norman. And pleasure to meet you, Dan. Yeah, I mean, my intro is going to come in. We actually are running the Coffee for Closers podcast. Been running Farris Team for over 10 years, close to $1 billion in sales in that. And then we really are proud of our Collab Agents, and that's kind of our organization or umbrella company within the EXP model that is literally what we wanted to do today, which is all about collaboration. So you guys are running a killer podcast. We just kicked ours off. I'm pretty proud of the guests we've been having. So right when I had the honor to be on your guys' show, I figured we could kind of do just a collab, as Collab Agents, put it together and see where it goes. So
that's sick. I love that. Coffees for closers. I love that.
Coffee for closers.
Cool. Oh, that's super cool. So I remember off air, we were going back and forth on Instagram, and we of course want to get into like your backstory and why real estate, and now you're with EXP and you're crushing it. So congratulations. And to kick off the story, I remember it was 10 years ago, you told me that on Facebook, you were being made fun of for doing like listing video walkthrough tours when that was actually not a thing. And your agents are like, what are you doing? Like, Travis, and now it's a thing and everyone's doing it. So let's kind of start there, man, from beginning to where you're at today.
Yeah, 100%. I guess the foundation for us in our business is always we push the boundaries, we push the limits within legal reason, obviously. Yeah. So anytime we got into the industry, and I'm not sure, every market's different because we're actually in the Hawaii, Oahu market, and Colorado, mainly Springs, a little bit Denver. Each market's a little bit different, and some of them, are a little antiquated. So Colorado market is definitely farther behind. To nicely put it, is ran by, there's some dinosaurs out here. In Hawaii, and again, because like I said, I push the boundaries. I kind of just say what I'm thinking. Hawaii was similar, but I was actually just talking to my wife today. But there was like this young youth in the marketplace, almost waiting for like this chance to enter the industry. And so when we kind of came out and really shook things up, and we did in Hawaii, we pushed so hard that like this youth was just like awesome. And it really infiltrated the market there to where it's a younger, fresher market. Colorado is still waiting. And I'm looking at this market being like, do we really want to like shake this thing up? But we talked about it early as well. So Nisa, my wife, better half of myself, she's actually been like my kind of business partner throughout the years. I've spearheaded kind of sales, the team management, but she's always been kind of the back end, a lot of our branding, marketing. And so I'm not going to take credit. It was, we got started in the business like 2010, 2011. And we just immediately started to just drive and push and see where we could get. And it was her idea that, right when we started to have some listings, she's like, I think I'm going to, and I think this was like 2011. She's like, I think I'm going to take these listings and I'm upload them on Facebook and Instagram. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool. It sounds innovative, which is crazy to think that was innovative at the time. And she did. So she started to put our videos up there, listings, and literally the industry, like the market, like as you said, kind of made fun of us. They were literally like, what are the Farrises? What are they doing? They're putting their listings on Facebook and Instagram, like those freaking idiots. And literally people would turn us in like, hey, the real estate commission or the real estate board, these guys are putting listings on Facebook. And we talked about this at our digital agent event. And one of the agents there as well was like, dude, I remember that time, because he was kind of in that little push phase to where people were like turning people in for putting their listings on social media, which is crazy at this point, because it's the norm.
It's I remember that when Facebook advertising really worked back then, when you could actually like target everybody, we started doing the same thing. We were putting the listing videos on, and we were being able to like do a good amount of ad spend. You would get tons of leads because people would like, this is like, I don't even need to go to the open house. Like, talk to me about the house. Let's write an offer. And we were just blown away that it's being innovative and jumping on those platforms. And I think a lot of people are seeing that right now with TikTok. Mm-hmm. But kudos to you guys just for implementing in those stages that when we're being disruptors. That's awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
100%. And TikTok as well. So we're on TikTok, or my marketing team does push my stuff out on TikTok. I'm actually trying to look like one step beyond TikTok. Cause again, I'm actually talking to, Norman here with Liftoff Agent on helping me with some of my branding YouTube stuff, which we've been doing. But the one thing I'm already looking at is the same thing with Norman. It's almost like, do I even want to put listings on Facebook and Instagram anymore? And I might not. And it's almost the same thing to where we're pushing hard on YouTube. But as you kind of you see that like inundation or saturation of kind of the same stuff, SH*T out there, to where I'm like, dude, I actually want to be one step ahead of TikTok. So, and that's kind of with you guys, is you guys do tons of branding marketing, and I'll drop you guys. The market's changed. It's super volatile, right? So how have you guys seen like the marketing and branding in agents' businesses be stress test? Because the one thing I've told my team is marketing used to be 2 years ago, it was the most important thing. Everyone's answering their phones because that's all you had to do for business. And so to separate yourself from other agents, you had to do beautiful marketing, branding, all of that stuff. Right now, I'm saying we're still doing the branding and marketing hardcore, but go back to basics. You got to close deals. So where have you guys really seen in the industry that this market is stress testing the people that are just doing YouTube and just doing Instagram to get business, or that used to, walk out of the house, answer their phone and be like, oh, you want to buy $1 million home? Great. Where have you guys seen that stress test kind of come in?
All right. I'll touch on this just because I am a team leader. The first thing, the stress test, which I won't go into crazy detail, is I'm rebranding my entire team name right now.
Talk about stress.
Like it's like a 60-point checklist. But when we were going through that name recognition of like, what do we want to do? Because we're changing from something completely drastic from one name to another, is that we were early enough in the 3 years in business that like the team name wasn't so concrete, and they've seen the logos and it has demand there. But what I'm trying to get at is that it was bigger picture, because I could have just named the team my name. And it's no offense to anybody that's done that, right? It's a good thing to do. Like, you, Daniel Beer. I mean, we can go down the list of people, right?
Yeah.
But I really like attached to Kenny Fast's idea, which was like the fast agents and a brand that can like be multiplied in multiple places without the person's name tied to it. Because my degree is in advertising. But to answer your question, it is omnipresence mixed with branding and name recognition and building market share. And so you can't just be on one platform. And what we're seeing from a lot of the more dinosaur agents, let's call them that, because they're not discriminating. We're seeing that their businesses were propped up by referrals and SOI and being able to just listing machines. And now they're not getting the listings, and their SOI is not getting them deals. And when I get a call, they're like, Dan, like, how do you have 6,000 subscribers on YouTube? Like, how do I always see your ads on Facebook and Instagram? And it's like, because that omnipresence and that brand, no matter what the brand, doesn't matter who it is, they're seeing my face constantly.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest way of disrupting that current curve. It's keeping us.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. And to kind of go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually was like that when I was initially establishing my brand. I tie it to my name because I was like, well, anywhere I expand to, I don't want to have to sell my name, like who I am, to then sell the brand. I wanted the one sale. But I had done so much business basically under Farris' team that there's so much equity in that brand now that I can't really. Now, here's the interesting thing. I can't walk away from it. But what I have done is I create brands within the brand. And I actually let my team agents almost establish their own brand as well, instead of being like, hey, Farris team, you have to use that all the time. So sorry, Norman, what you say, man?
No, I love that. I just wanted to kind of just chime into what Dan was saying and the trends and like the pressure of what's happening now, because posting coming soon, just sold, just listed is cliche. You look at head talk content, right? That's been out there for how long, right? So Alex Mosey and all of the 9x16 short form content. And now what you're seeing is you're seeing these agents coming out of nowhere that are doing things like call tattoo, tattoo realtor in our market here in Maricopa County, Arizona. Now you're seeing more of like the scene realtors. We had Matt Leninetti. And so he was on the podcast here, Real Estate First Technology, starting off with doing singing type content. There's another guy who's now the rapping realtor. So you're starting to see these individuals that are going more kind of viral, if you will, from doing something that's untraditional. And the kind of interesting / cool thing / controversial thing is that if majority of these agents are sharing this other agent's content, what is that doing for their network? Is it saying that maybe they should go use the singing realtor or cold tattoo or somebody else? Or is it saying that they should stay and just, use that same agent or use their friend and who knows? And maybe they're, now going past their friend and calling call tattoo or whoever else, because their branding, their uniqueness is sticking out so much more. So I'm seeing this like less about the brokerage, of course, because now that's less of a thing, and more about how can you be unique and how can you be different, and like what's the next big thing on trends.
For sure. Yeah, it's super interesting. And because anytime I would kind of like look at ourselves or even kind of coach agents on building the brand, it's you'd always say, because again, the dinosaur agents, they always would brand, they cared what name was on the door. And they did, like, again, it was this push of, oh, well, you have a business profile and you have your personal is different. And for years I've always kind of looked at like, no, dude, like the personal is your brand. And what you're talking about is that's just becoming like hyper focused to where whatever is the personal is like magnified, that is the brand, which is actually it's cool. I love it. You know what I mean? I talk about my tattoos and I'm like, look, and I'm open. I'm like, my tattoos probably cost more than your Rolex, dude. So, it's who I am. And it's part of my core values is we do great work for good people, to where I only want to work with people that I jive with. And that was something I learned early on is coming into what I thought was this dinosaur industry. And I was like, I've got to walk the walk and talk the talk. I ended up working with these a-holes because I wasn't being myself. After a year or two that I was like, I'm tired of these people. Like, this is who I am. And then you start working with, hey, dude, you guys like, hey, clients, let's have an event at the UFC fight. And we're all going to drink beer and have fun. Like, and you start like attracting that into your clientele, which is just
your tribe
better. Because in the real estate, Dan, too, I mean, it's work and personal are so intertwined. They're so intertwined right now. And that's even Nisa's like, I hate that you like love what you are doing so much. And I'm just like, I created this world that like, I'm going to go have fun and work. You know what I mean? To where you create this world where you just love what you do. So Dan, I do have a question for you, unless you have one for me, man.
No, go ahead.
All right. So I'm actually having Ramon Cautious, Rock Real Estate. I'm going to have him on and talk because team leaders, because Norman, do you run a team right now or are you just branding, marketing, hardcore?
Hardcore branding, marketing, liftoff, and then side investor.
Beautiful. All right. So Dan, because we've seen ups and downs and in the industry, solo agent running teams. The one thing I'm seeing is, there was like Q4 of last year from the holidays, the changing interest rates, the changing markets. How did you as a team leader, and after you, I can kind of share my experience.
Yeah.
How did you see things? Because I'm seeing, and that's what literally I saw, Rock Real Estate Dude post, like, dude, the last 6 months have been probably one of the roughest 6 months of my career.
Yeah.
And I saw some major like margin compression, definitely having to check the expenses. If you don't mind, like where were you running the team, and like, what did you see in the last 6 months with everything from Q4 to Q1?
That is a lot to unpack, but to synthesize it in the most easiest way possible is that as the team leader, I call myself Lieutenant Dan. I jumped in the trenches with everybody and I said, listen, like if I can do this, you can do this. Let's get you to 2 transactions, 4 transactions going. And so transactionally, I didn't just step away and manage. Like no fault to anybody that's at that 7th level. That's awesome. But I dug even deeper in getting transactions. So I got to a point where I had 13 pendings going on myself, and I was doing my own transaction management on purpose. And I said, listen, guys, I said, in order to be successful in this next push of the industry, you're going to be able to have to stress test yourself to be able to do as much business as quick as possible and streamline and lower your cost per file, cost per transaction, so that just follow my systems, get the training, get the onboarding, like keep the systems going. So what we did is we systematized everything, like how you open escrow, every single thing. And then I say, listen, guys, once you cap, I'll pay for a transaction coordinator. Beautiful. And once you cap, that's what we really moved on. But transactionally, we were all systems based. Second thing we did to get prepared for this is that we spent way more marketing than everybody else. So I like quadrupled my marketing spend in 5 different lead generation buckets. We use predictive seller data. We actually took budget from Zillow and redistributed to other things. We niched down in specific verticals. We pulled lists like wholesalers and investors do to get really on the phones and dialing. We're making 10,000 calls a month. So outbound is way heavier, but I think the third most important thing we did, and shout out to John Cheplack, is just KFR. I never stopped recruiting.
Totally.
And I'm like at 2 agents a week now.
Yep. And I think that's exactly the same thing. It was like major shifts, major pivoted, because I was always level 7-6. So I always go level 7 and I come back to level 6 and always driving things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, and in that time, it was exactly like you said, you kind of stepped back into the trenches, which I definitely had to do as well. I had to reevaluate all of our expenses. I think like you did, like hardcore, because, when you're closing, $50K plus a month, you set expenses off of those numbers. And then all of a sudden business goes, and you're like, oh my God. And I had to like shift what's working, what's not working, like quick pivot, quick shift, moving agents around, moving staff around. And it was a hardcore pivot and shift. But I think we did exactly what you did, to where there was that feeling of, and I always talk about it, like you want to just go and just shrivel in and like kind of protect. But like you had to kind of go against that. And yeah, like we had to increase spend and definitely recruit as well. Because again, if you are feeling a profit or margin compression, then these agents are getting crushed. Mm-hmm. And so when people think, well, I don't have the business, you can create the business by going and helping, like you said, let's get you from 1 to 2 deals a month. Again, these solo agents that are just getting started, which I'm loving, dude. I took an agent from a white and blue dinosaur company who had done nothing in a year, in the previous year. And I'm like, what? And we took her and just plopped her into our systems. And, she pended 2 like within 30 days and is about to do her 3rd. And it was like, what are these people doing? But absolutely, it's, you can hear the shift and the pivots that had to be done. Cause it was, and I'm looking, and the reason why I wanted to ask is I see teams doing interesting things. Place, like I saw some teams go into place, and I've had, when we were running our Better Homes and Gardens franchise, I had business partners that we were married to. So after I talked to Place and I was like, you guys look pretty, you guys' stuff looks good. But when they got to that final slide, I was like, I don't think so. Where I'm seeing teams get to that final slide and say, sure, sign me up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, there is something definitely going on with teams. Solo agents that were doing decent might have been able to maneuver around a little easier, but when you have that overhead, you had to fricking watch it like a hawk.
Yeah. And we still are. That's all you can do, right? It's a P&L plan now. That's what I call it.
I love that. I feel like in the real estate space too, as you know, from like Liftoff that hosts Real Estate Versus Technology, it's more predictable, right? We know like reoccurring revenue wise what's going to be coming in. We have clients that are going to be paying us every single month, and they're in contract, so it's fine. You still have to obviously look at P&L and go back and forth, look at all that. But at the end of the day, for y'all business, you got to be on it and kind of transitioning into, as the TV turned off behind me, has mind of its own, into what's next for marketing. I know we touched on it a little bit right before we got into that last subject. I'm really curious about YouTube. So like we talked about off air about Levi Lassick. We know the core team moving to Hawaii. They've all been on the show. We're starting to see this pivot. I know that Dan is maximizing YouTube and doing a lot with probate and moving in or out of Oregon. So maybe we'll do Dan and also Travis, and we can start with maybe Travis and go to Dan. Like, what's your thoughts on YouTube? You're seeing what's out there. Do you feel like that's what's next, maybe for your business and for viewers and listeners out there to maybe start to move towards?
Yeah, 100%. I don't even think it's what's next. I think it was yesterday. And the fact that you need to be on it. Again, if you're looking at everything on like, how do I stay relevant? How do I stay ahead? You should be on, we'll say it, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You should be on YouTube today. And whenever we do webinars, that's one of our exercises. Do you have a YouTube? And literally start it, record a video, get your cringe video out of the way, and we kind of force them into it. Again, dude, we if you actually go back and look at on our, I think it's our Collab Agents YouTube channel, which I rebranded as one of our old ones, we were doing vlogs in like 17.
Wow.
And they were like, I actually had a media like camera crew that would follow us around, and they were putting out really quality. We did it for a little while, and this is where our business partners at the time hated it. Like they were like, you can't have these media guys in-house. It's a liability. And just, we ended up stopping, and like, we put out some like really awesome stuff. And it's kind of one of those times where I look back and I'm like, dang it, dude, we should have just kept it going. But we stepped back in and we're pushing out really hard. That's my stance on it. Literally YouTube is, and that's where I was talking about is you're starting to see the saturation occur, which is okay. It's real estate in general is 90-10. Right when I stepped in, I was like, look, this is the 90-10 rule where I know we're going to be, top 1%. And so you never get offended by the competition. And I always tell people, like, if you get offended by the competition, you need to look into yourself. Because I love it. The competition makes me better. That's why I've actually kind of moved and pivoted, because I didn't want to be the whale in the room. I want to be surrounded by people better than me to push and progress us. So yeah, if you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube. If you don't have a person to help you with YouTube, we're going to chat with Norman tomorrow and Liftoff Agent. But I have crews and people that are doing our stuff now. It's such a easy, good way. I will say, because a couple of my agents started their own, because again, we promote them to start their own brand within my team. And what is it? So Marina Tolentino, one of my monster agents in Hawaii, Taylor Cardenas, she runs Social Estates. She actually moved from Hawaii, kind of followed us to Colorado when we expanded. And Marina, year one of YouTube, and I think she had 50 subscribers at the time, closed 6 million off of YouTube.
Wow.
Year one. Taylor Cardenas, in a brand new market, Colorado, closed 4, maybe close to 5 million off YouTube in a brand new market. So on my team, there was 10 million of sales year one off of YouTube. And here's the thing, not a lot of subscribers.
Wow. That's awesome. And just really quick, before I let Dan give us his answer, you said something about being saturated. The one thing I think better about YouTube than social media on saturation is that like people buy from someone they know, like, and trust. So even though if there's like 5 videos of the same subject matter, they're going to be like, oh, I really like Dan, so I'm going to work with him. more so than Steve, just because of the vibe Create Your Tribe. So Dan, what's your thoughts on YouTube and that approach?
Well, it's going to be an interesting journey. So I went from 103 videos down to 3 videos. I made everything private when I did my name change, because I have to take my old videos and edit them and then re-thumbnail them and recirculate them. So I'm going to take all of my best videos that perform the best, and I'm actually going to like get a pro done. And then my long-winded marketing plan of all of it is that we had generated about $4 million in business off of it last year. But I have compartmentalized, like it's relocation, investments, probate, and then like your classic buyer seller tips or geographical content. But I think what I really want to say with YouTube is that the search engine optimization is like the most important aspect to it. That's where we get a lot of business from it, is people doing searches on Google and then finding those videos. And because it's a video, they're connecting with it versus the top ranked articles or team blogs or whatever it is. But when you combine the SEO with good thumbnails, good audio, good strategy, it's like all of mine was garbage, right? Like the stuff was shot in my car. It was shaky. And we generated a lot of business from it. So I try to take that same strategy and just move it up the pillar a little bit in terms of production, but keep those principles of SEO and compartmentalization and positioning. I think that's the most important skill that I tell people. Is like, I get agents in my market that call me. They're like, dude, I have a question about probate. You're like crushing it. And I'm just like, let's talk about it. And they're like, I was like, actually I have a YouTube video about it. Just go watch it. And they're like, answer my question. Thank you so much. So it's to be the first person in that space in your market. It doesn't mean you have to be the first person in the space on YouTube, just in your market. So you get hired. That's it.
I love that.
Riches are in the niches, baby.
Yeah. And I feel like I speak for a lot of people on this, like the overproduction, polished content really takes a human element out of it. I saw a video yesterday, a guy who has like this franchise. He was using AI. So AI basically wrote the script, took his face, and it was just like literally all computer generated. And a lot of the comments were like, there's no soul. Like, this is not real. And you see a lot of these big corporations, and then you're making a phone call, you want to get your question answered, and it's like someone in the Philippines. You're like, can I just talk to Travis? Can I just talk to Dan? Like, I'm not looking to like talk to this person that's like not even licensed, because this company is so polished and so large. So no, those are good responses. I think a lot of viewers, listeners out there should take that consideration. YouTube, get on it, build a know, like, and trust, leverage your past efforts, send them a video to answer questions. We're all busy. That's awesome.
Yeah. I had a question for Travis. I think when you expand and you do have 2 teams that are operating at a high level, how is that training and onboarding process when it comes to marketing? Like, how are you teaching them to replicate not just the lead generation, the outbound and relationship building, but like the marketing aspect to it?
Like, okay, so we run Farris team in Hawaii and Colorado. Basically, to tell you the truth, it was difficult. It was not something that was laid out. Everything that we're doing is not systemized down to the DMV. Like, I'm like, I live in both states, and like they try. No, we need your old ID. I'm like, but I still live in Hawaii. Like, nothing in this country promotes living like in different states, because it's a life hack, to tell you the truth. And that's where I tell people, especially in Colorado, when I first expanded here in like 2018. We're jamming Hawaii, which is like, $800 to $1 million median sales price point. And I'm closing deals there, and I'm bringing that money to Colorado basically. And so Colorado doesn't like that. Hawaii doesn't like that. And it down to everything, but I was more strategic in Hawaii. We pushed hard. And I tell people, like, if you like saw like our path, it was like so volatile of pushing, that when we came to Colorado, I made it a secondary market on purpose, to where I didn't want to go through that, like, because emotionally that was hard too, and I think everyone who does successful in real estate knows that once you're new, everyone's like, yeah, you can do it. And then actually when you start to do good, the haterade starts to emerge and you end up in, the crosshairs. So the beautiful thing is, we talked about it briefly, P&L, profits. That's one thing that teams don't talk about. Vanity metrics is all they care about. We chased vanity metrics for the first 7 years in business. I don't give a about vanity metrics. I don't want to be number 1 anymore. I want to be agent team number 15, but my profitability is way over the number 1 because they're chasing those numbers. So I did that when I came to Colorado. Is I said, hey, look, we're going to let this be organic. I know what we need to do to be successful. I'm going to kind of like slowly start. One of my agents actually randomly moved before we did from Hawaii to Colorado. And so when I came here, I picked him back up. And it was like, all right, so we start to push listings out. We start to just quality push stuff out instead of where I normally came in and I just absolutely shake up the whole market to be like, we are the Farrises. Like, I didn't do that this time. We kind of came under the radar and are just slowly growing and building our name. But it's interesting to where with technology and everything to where before I was actually at EXP running Farris team and collab, I would have been more protective on, hey, Farris team, make sure our branding and marketing is there. I'm not really. I don't really care. It's kind of like Farris. The only difference between Farris team and collab is I'm driving business through Farris team. Collab, I'm telling them exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, the structures. If you want to build a team, I'll help you build your own team just because of the way it's structured. And so there's not a lot of difference to where, if you look at Marina Tolentino, again, her stuff, Social Estates and Taylor Cardenas, I really let them build their brand because they're going to bring people in that I might not. So it's very organic. Again, it's Farris team. I guess the team is proud to market Farris team because of our history and what we've done to where, and I tell new agents, dude, you can try to build, because that's where a lot of new agents come in and they want to brand their thing just at almost ego. I'm like, all right, well, no one knows who that is. Like, I don't care, but Farris team, we've sold a lot of business. So if they say, hey, what have you done? You're going to say nothing. But if you say, hey, well, what have they done? You can say, we have a huge track record. That's really the only reason I care about that. But it's a very organic flow at this point now. Arizona's next. It is Tucson. And I'm specializing in, and I talked about it, on secondary markets. I can't remember, one of the economists was basically talking about this, and I've been saying it forever, is like Honolulu was super saturated, but West Side wasn't. But West Side boomed, and we were ahead of the boom. Colorado Springs, Denver boomed. We're in Colorado Springs primarily. And so the boom of the primary city basically pushes traffic into the secondary. Same thing, Phoenix, Gilbert, Scottsdale, booming. What's that going to do to Tucson? So I'm all about those secondary markets to kind of catch those pops.
That's awesome. That's super.
I love that. No, great question, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Oh, well, I think we're winding down here. I think Norman usually kicks it off and says like, hey, is there anything you want to leave our listeners and viewers? But we mixed it up today, so I'm going to say it. Like, Travis, like, what do you want the agent out there to hear from you that is going to have some impact that we can put some bookends on this and they can take and apply it to their business?
Whatever you want to do, if no one's doing it, it's okay. Like, be the first. You know what I mean? Because again, it's even TikTok. Like, TikTok's still newish, and how long has it been around? 2 years now. So it's like, and I was just chatting with Nisa to where I want to look at something, and if no one's doing it, I want to start to try to do it. And if you're successful, or if you're going to be successful, just know that you're going to fail. You're going to fail 9 times out of 10, and you just need that pop. You know what I mean? It's again, West Side Oahu was not cool until, you know what, it's cool now. And I look at all the West Side agents and I'm like, hey, what are you doing on the West Side? And you know what I mean? So it's, if you want to do something and no one's doing it, I strongly suggest you do it and stay with it and see what happens.
Love it. Love it.
That's awesome.
It's
a great, cool mix up, right? We completely collaborated, totally mixed it up. I actually like that idea. So viewers and listeners, comment below. You want Dan to outro the shows? I like to have a mix up, right?
Well, I would talk for hours, but I got to go show this $1.4 million house here in a little while. So I'm like, I gotta be smart with time, but this has been amazing. This is I love talking with other team leaders, and yeah, Norm, thanks for putting this together. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks, Norm, letting us pop in. Again, listeners, as you remember, coffee is for closers. That's what it's all about.
Let's go. We appreciate you all. Thanks so much for tuning in to Lift Real Estate First Technology Podcast. It is our intention for you to take things for our episodes. So apply to your business, have more massive success. Subscribe, notification bell, comment below. What'd you learn? We will see you on the next one.